something potentially huge is happening in how the world teaches its kids, and you might not have even heard about it yet. We're going to dive deep into a really significant move by China.
That's right. Just this past November, their Ministry of Education made it official. A nationwide plan to bring AI education into, well, pretty much every primary and secondary school across the whole country.
And the scale is, it's kind of mind-boggling, isn't it? By 2030, the goal is for AI education to be a fundamental part of learning. For elementary, for middle school students, it sounds like they're trying to cultivate a generation ready for this new era, as they call it.
It's an incredibly ambitious timeline. And, this isn't happening totally out of the blue. There's a clear recognition that artificial intelligence is, well, a major technological shift.
Kind of a revolution almost.
Exactly. And the rapid advancements we've seen, especially with things like, ChatGPT, they're really forcing a rethink about education.
Yeah, you can see how that would push things.
And what's fascinating, if you look globally, is that actually very few countries, UNESCO says only 11 have official AI education guidelines right now. So China is really positioning itself way out front here.
Okay, now, if you're hearing this for the first time, you might be wondering, AI education, what does that even mean for, like, a third grader?
And that's exactly what we're going to explore in this deep dive.
Our mission today is to really break down the key parts of this whole initiative. We want to understand what it involves and, maybe more importantly, what its potential significance is. Not just for China, perhaps, but maybe for education everywhere.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. This big push towards AI education in China, it's not like a sudden whim. It's actually built on a pretty long-standing national strategy.
You're talking about that new generation artificial intelligence development plan from back in 2017, wasn't it?
Exactly that one, yeah. That plan basically set the stage. It highlighted the need to include AI-related subjects, promote programming skills, even back then in primary and secondary schools.
So this has been on the agenda for a while.
The government sees developing AI talent as absolutely crucial for their future industrial strength, and for staying ahead technologically on the world stage.
Okay, so future competitiveness, both economic and technological, makes sense. But what about inside China? What were the sort of internal drivers that made this nationwide push necessary right now?
That's a really important point, because even with China's AI advancements, there are these big gaps, significant differences in educational resources between regions.
Right.
Yeah, they've been dealing with shortages, not enough specialized equipment, not enough relevant teaching materials, and maybe most critically, not enough qualified teachers, especially out in the rural areas.
Really? How bad was it?
Well, the data from the end of 2023 suggested less than 30% of schools nationwide had what they needed for AI education. And in rural areas, it was only around 10%.
Wow. Okay. Those are really stark differences. So this nationwide effort is also about trying to bridge that gap then, level the playing field.
Precisely. And they've been taking, deliberate steps towards this. Back in February 2024, they picked 184 schools to be these AI education pilot schools. Think of them like test beds, experimenting with teaching methods, developing materials.
Kind of like labs for AI education.
Sort of, yeah. And then just recently, April 2025, they officially kicked off this big 100 schools demonstration project. Now, this isn't just a small trial, it's a major national thing. These 100 schools are meant to become models, showing best practices, and their approaches will probably get rolled out more widely later. It's like the blueprint for the rest of the country.
So these 100 schools are the pioneers, basically, testing it, showing how it works.
Yeah.
Okay, so we understand the why. Now, for someone just trying to get their head around this, what exactly does this AI education plan actually involve? What are the main pieces?
Right. The ministry's announcement laid out 6 key areas they're focusing on. First, they're building a whole systematic AI curriculum, K through 12.
From kindergarten all the way to high school graduation.
Yep. And it's not just separate AI classes. They're integrating AI concepts into existing subjects like IT and science. And they're even creating these things called like Sini Dubin.
Popular readers. What are those exactly?
Think of them like accessible little books designed to be engaging, make AI concepts less mysterious for younger kids, maybe even outside of formal lessons, a bit like those introduction to science books you might remember.
Okay. So making it approachable, not just textbook stuff.
Exactly. The second big area is integrating AI learning into both regular classes and after-school activities. They're not just adding it, they're weaving it in.
So it becomes part of the normal school day.
Right. And crucially, they're also planning ways to actually assess how well students are learning these concepts. Making sure it's effective and maybe spotting where the gaps are.
That makes sense. You need to know if it's working. What's number 3?
Third is creating universal teaching materials and resources. This is huge. They're setting up a dedicated AI education section on their big online platform, the National Smart Education Platform.
The goal being?
To make high-quality stuff easily available to all schools, no matter where they are or how much money they have, trying to address that resource gap we talked about.
Right, leveling the playing field again. Okay, fourth.
Fourth is improving the actual learning environment. This means setting up better, more advanced AI labs in schools, upgrading their digital gear. But also, and this is interesting, collaborations with universities, research places, even businesses to create what they call ubiquitous learning opportunities.
Ubiquitous, meaning learning AI anywhere, anytime.
Kind of, more like diverse ways and places for students to interact with AI beyond just the classroom, making it feel more real world.
Gotcha. Practical connections. What's the fifth area?
The fifth one is absolutely vital. Teachers. Building and expanding the force of teachers who can actually teach this stuff.
Yeah, that sounds critical.
It is. So recruiting new teachers with AI skills, training up current teachers, even setting up specific AI education majors in universities to create a pipeline of future educators. Because, the best curriculum in the world won't work without good teachers.
Totally agree. Teachers are the key. And the sixth point.
Finally, the sixth area is promoting exchange activities. Think AI competitions, student clubs, kids presenting research, events that bring schools and industry together. Basically giving students platforms to show off what they've learned and just get excited about AI.
Okay, wow. That is really comprehensive. It sounds very top-down, very planned, aiming for improvement across the whole country and equal access.
That's a perfect way to put it. The government's definitely emphasizing the central planning and making sure different departments are working together to make it happen.
Okay, so we've covered the why and the what. Now, for someone maybe just tuning in, how does this actually play out in the classroom across different ages? The how and for whom?
Right. This is where it gets really practical and honestly pretty interesting to see how they're tailoring it. They have a very clear stage-by-stage approach.
Okay, so starting young.
Yep. Lower elementary, think grades 1 to 3. The focus there is really just familiarization, getting comfortable, experiencing AI in a hands-on way, simple robots, visual programming tools like Scratch.
Oh yeah, Scratch is popular. Lots of dragging and dropping blocks.
Exactly. It's about playful learning, letting the youngest kids grasp the basics of how AI tech works, how things move, through direct interaction, making it fun, not scary.
Right. Build that foundation without intimidation. What happens next?
As they move into upper elementary and then middle school, the focus shifts. Now it's more about understanding the basic principles, the applications of AI. They start learning about things like sensors, basic algorithms.
Algorithms.
Yeah.
Like the instructions computers follow.
Simple ones at first, maybe for sorting things or searching. And they start doing mini projects, trying to use AI to solve everyday problems they notice around them.
So getting them thinking practically about how AI can be a tool even quite early on.
Precisely. And then by the time they hit high school, things get, well, quite a bit more advanced.
Okay, what does that look like?
They're expected to tackle more complex projects, explore cutting-edge stuff, maybe developing simple mobile apps that use machine learning, creating basic AI models themselves, learning about the latest trends. The real emphasis here is on student-led projects, finding a problem and using AI to try and solve it.
Wow, that's quite a ramp up. From playing with robots to actually building AI models in just a few years.
It is, and the key thing, the thread running through all these stages, is this consistent goal, developing real-world problem-solving abilities.
Moving beyond just memorizing facts.
Exactly. It's a shift away from rote learning towards methods that are much more project-based, problem-solving focused, really pushing students to apply AI concepts to challenges they actually see in their lives or communities.
Can you give an example? What might a high school project look like?
Sure. Maybe a group of students could develop an app using image recognition to help sort waste for recycling in their town. Or they might build a simple AI model to predict local traffic patterns to suggest better routes for commuters. Something tangible.
Connecting the learning directly to real issues.
Yeah.
Okay, so the goals here are clearly broader than just teaching coding or AI facts, right? What are the bigger outcomes they're hoping for?
Absolutely. The main goals are, one, cultivating talent that's adaptable for this AI era, and two, just raising the overall quality of education.
And what does that look like in terms of student skills?
Well, they expect to see more interest in science generally, a boost in creativity, curiosity, and definitely better logical thinking skills. I mean, think about programming or working with robots. There's a lot of trial and error, right? That naturally builds creative problem solving, figuring things out, maybe even teamwork.
Yeah, those soft skills, they're so important, but sometimes harder to teach directly.
Exactly. And it's also about fostering digital literacy. And importantly, a correct understanding of the relationship between humans and technology. Meaning they want students to be good at using AI as a tool in this, information everywhere world, but also to understand the ethics, the safety aspects that come with powerful tech. Remember that quote from the education minister, Wai Jinping? He called AI the golden key to unlocking the education system's potential.
Right. That really highlights how important they see this.
It does, and we shouldn't lose sight of the bigger national strategy picture here. It always comes back to strengthening that AI talent pipeline, boosting future industries, maintaining tech leadership. You can see it in the aims of that 100-school pilot program. They explicitly mention talent cultivation benefiting national strategy, leading educational transformation, and supporting student growth. It's all connected.
Okay, so looking ahead then towards the future, what's the expected impact? How do they see this rolling out towards that 2030 goal?
Well, like we said, it's phased. Right now, the focus is on those pilot and demo schools, establishing successful models, building that solid foundation before they go fully nationwide. That April 2025 launch of the 100-school project is a really key milestone. We'll learn a lot from how those schools do.
So those 100 schools are really under the microscope, setting the stage.
Exactly. And looking forward, a huge ongoing focus will definitely be on teachers, strengthening the training, the whole staffing system. They have really ambitious plans here, significantly boosting the number of teachers who can teach AI, creating those university programs we mentioned, providing ongoing training for the current workforce.
Because at the end of the day, it hinges on having enough skilled teachers in classrooms everywhere.
Absolutely right. Can't overstate that. They're also pouring effort into the content and the learning environment itself. That dedicated AI section on the National Smart Education Platform, that's going to be vital for getting good materials, software, online courses out to everyone.
Trying to make sure access isn't a barrier, democratizing the resources.
And they're even trying to bridge the gap between schools and, the cutting edge of AI. There are plans to open up university labs, corporate AI research centers, even exhibition spaces to students. More chances for them to interact with real advanced tech through things like lab visits or industry workshops.
That kind of hands-on, real-world exposure could be incredibly motivating, I imagine.
Definitely. So the big goal, the headline number, is that basic popularization of AI education in primary and secondary schools by 2030.
Basic popularization. Meaning what, exactly?
It means they envision a future just 6 years from now where pretty much all schools have some kind of AI education program running, and where students graduate with at least a fundamental AI literacy, understanding the concepts, how they apply.
That is genuinely ambitious, on that scale, in that time frame.
It really is. And, their thinking doesn't stop there. The long-term vision involves potentially taking what they learn here and applying it to universities, vocational training, maybe even using similar approaches for reskilling adults or for international cooperation. It's all part of this bigger drive to accelerate the digital transformation of education, find new ways to learn.
This is clearly a massive undertaking with ripples likely felt worldwide. What about the reactions? How has this been received both inside China and maybe internationally? For someone new to this, what's the buzz?
Well, inside China, you definitely see a mix. If you look at platforms like Weibo, social media, there's real enthusiasm from some quarters, people talking about how AI could enhance learning, maybe even act as a personalized tutor.
Seeing the potential, the futuristic side of it.
Exactly. But there are also quite a few concerns being voiced. You hear worries from parents about, increased academic pressure on kids, the impact of even more screen time on eyesight.
Practical concerns.
Right. And deeper anxieties, too. Could AI eventually replace teachers? Could it hurt students' ability to learn independently? And there's that question again about equity. Could this actually widen the gap if richer areas implement it way better than poorer ones?
So real excitement mixed with some very real, practical, and maybe even philosophical concerns.
Absolutely. Now, internationally, this is getting a lot of attention. As we mentioned, China's really out front with integrating AI formally into the K-12 curriculum on this scale. And with bodies like UNESCO pushing governments to support AI literacy, China's approach is being watched very closely as a potential model, maybe, or at least as a major case study.
It's interesting to compare how they're doing it versus, say, other countries.
It really is. If you take the U.S., for example, curriculum decisions are often much more decentralized, right? Left to states, local districts. Experts point to China's top-down, nationwide, unified strategy as a stark contrast.
Different approaches to rolling out major educational change.
Definitely. Each way probably has its own pros and cons when you're talking about something this big. But the bottom line is, this policy from China is seen as having a potentially huge impact on the global race for AI talent. Educators everywhere, including, say, in Japan, are paying close attention, thinking about how they need to prepare their own students for this AI-driven future.
Okay, so pulling it all together for someone who's just learned about this.
Yeah.
The core thing to grasp is China has this incredibly ambitious nationwide plan. Integrate AI education into all primary and secondary schools by 2030.
That's the absolute headline. And maybe the key things to remember are the huge strategic importance they're placing on this for the country's future, the very comprehensive, centrally managed way they're implementing it, those carefully staged learning goals for different ages, and this mix of public excitement and some genuine concerns being debated.
Now, for you listening, this really does raise a big question, doesn't it? When you see a country making such a massive government-backed push like this, what does it mean for how we should think about the future of learning? About global competitiveness in this age of AI? Does it make you pause and think, maybe whether our current ways of educating kids are really enough, given what's happening elsewhere?
And maybe the really perspective-shifting takeaway here, the thing that might change how you look at it, is realizing this isn't just about teaching kids how to code AI or what AI is. It feels more like a fundamental rethink of what it even means to be educated, to be ready for a future that's going to be so deeply intertwined with intelligent technology.
Mm-hmm.
This whole initiative kind of challenges our assumptions, doesn't it, about what skills are truly essential for the future.
So perhaps the most crucial thing to take away from this deep dive isn't just the details of China's plan itself, but the urgent question it throws back at all of us. How do we understand? And how should we approach education in this incredibly fast-changing technological world? Definitely food for thought. Something to keep exploring.